At Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. 2146. That is your SMS line. This is your economic review. I am at Kiage Simba on Twitter. Now, even as the county chiefs continue to decry delayed disbursements from the National Treasury, there is 35 billion idle cash that the county bosses are yet to pick from the Central Bank of Kenya. Now, the National Treasury disclosed last week that 34.6 billion meant for counties is yet to be picked from the Central Bank of Kenya, even as the devolved units continue to cry a cash crunch that has disrupted service delivery. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuri Yatani noted that last week the funds are part of the 133 billion shillings equitable share and conditional grants released to counties for the financial year to June. Now, the Treasury Office is yet to release funds for November and December due to a cash crunch following the COVID-19 pandemic that has hurt revenue collections. Mr. Yatani said that with the reopening of the economy and scrapping of the COVID-19 tax reliefs, revenues will pick up, and it's the cash crunch that has disrupted a flow of money to the county government. Questions big this morning is that what can we read into the county's sluggish approach to picking the grants of the CBK's office despite them decrying lack of funds at the counties? Now, joining us this morning, therefore, to help us understand this, joined by Dr. Mchelule and Bahumengari. Let me pick with you, Mchelule. What would you think is the reason behind this sluggish approach from the counties to pick this 35 billion, even as they continue to decry a cash crunch at the county levels?
Okay, in issues of the county, I can say
yes,
there's lack of seriousness in the county because there's a lot of blame games and also political games within them. That's what I can say, because if they're claiming that there's no money and there's money there, the National Treasury disclosed last week that there 34.6 billion meant for the counties yet to be picked. They have not picked it. It means that one of the key things that I can say, either one, they have not planned themselves very well, that is a fact, or two, they don't know their priorities. And that's the issue that also has been my concern on raising such kind of an instance in relationship to the BBI, because you are saying that you're going to take money to the people, to the county. But how can you take money to the people, to the county, yet you don't have plan for that money? At the end of the day, this money is going to be embezzled. And so these are the issues that are there. So there's a lack of seriousness in terms of our leadership in the county government.
yes,
There's a lot of confusion whereby they need to walk the talk and be. Just imagine that at the end of every year, there's some money is being returned to the treasury. And then what happened? What is the problem? And then the same governor and the county, the leadership in the county, saying that we failed to implement this project because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did not have funds. And they're the same people that have been returning money to the treasury. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of laxity in the county government. Number two, there's a lack of seriousness, and also they don't have priorities within. They just think about the money, but when money is there, they don't know how to plan. And it goes down the recruitment process in the county government. Which kind of staffs do we involve in the daily running of a county? How do we recruit these people? All this comes from the management. The management, if it becomes so much political, don't expect an outcome. Don't expect results.
pretty much.
The court is there to make it. That's all.
Yes.
And that's what is the court suffering from. And they need to correct this mess. Even if the BBI is being approved, and even the money they're going to be taken to, and they don't have plan for that money, they don't have anything for that money, they'll still be confused and will not add any value. So it's high time the Kenyan leadership in the county governments to change their way, and they work with the professionals who can add value to the resources that they have, no matter minimal resources they have within the county government. Because if there's money, you cannot pick, and you're still making noise, you don't have money. You saw what happened in Mombasa. Then all the doctors, they were sacked. Then after that, they were reinstated again. There's no proper justification. There's no reason why, and there's money there in the bank. So who are we going to blame? Are we going to blame the national government? Or are we going to blame the leadership in the county government. That's my take.
Yes. Let me bring in Wahome Ngari. And Shedula, I want you to be ready because my next question to you is going to be, well, there has to be a lot of qualifications, especially when we're talking about counties getting this 34.6 that is lying at the CBK. Let me bring in Wahome Ngari as well, just to weigh in on why counties are a bit sluggish to get this money from the CBK, knowing very well that they're the ones who are crying about lack of proper funds or enough funds at the county level just for them to enact their projects.
I think the problem of the county is straight on capacity of the leadership. The people who want to run Nairobi, the people who are saying they put their names out as candidates for Nairobi. How many of these people can actually be given an opportunity to run any serious organization? How many of them can pitch to run one of the blue chip companies in town? The county is such a big that when we don't have the capacity, everything else will not fall in place. There is an entitlement mentality. People always want, what are they generating? What's the creativity of generating more? What's the creativity of using what they want, what they want to do better? We've had COVID-19. There has been a slowdown in collection of taxes. And even on a personal level, people have had to do adjustments. But counties don't do any adjustments because they have a mentality. They just want to receive. You have to be more. What's the creativity that we have seen in their collection of money? Traditional says the old guy is on the highway waiting for a truck, stop it, which is very, very bad for business. If you're tracking cows from Moyale to Nairobi, can you imagine how many times you'd have to pay for that truck of cows? It's a disincentive to the business person. And this is exactly where the problem is. And like Dr. Yusuf is saying, even if we devolve more money, we are not solving the problem because they will still not have the capacity. And like somebody said yesterday, I think one of the doctors said, politicians have a problem. When they are faced with a technical challenge, they always throw in a political solution, which doesn't work. And that's exactly what's happening with the healthcare sector. This is a technical problem, but they're actually just using political solutions. It's very sad that the chairman of the county of governors can say, even if they strike for 100 years, he will never pay them. Surely, what is the sense of this? If this was a corporate entity and there was a crisis, do you think it would stay for 2 weeks without being resolved? People would have to be closed in a room overnight and a solution would be found in the morning. The capacity, the seriousness is not there. That's our challenge. This is the country we live in. We love this country, and that's why we want to see the changes. Somewhere we have to look for an incentive to bring in people who are more serious to run our county government.
Chalula, let me put this to you because that's exactly where I want you to touch on as well. That if you look at some of these grants, they have pre-qualification measures that you have to hit as a county just to make sure that you actually have it. They're even looking at the qualifications of the people that you have employed in your county government. Could that be the reason as to why some of these counties are not meeting these qualifications?
You know, there's a difference between qualification and doing the job, because you can have good papers, but you don't have experience in the job.
Yes.
And that's another thing. You know, you need to merge X and Y so that you can get Z. Those are the problems that you need to put in mind. If you're going to be appointed on a political ground, automatically it's going to be difficult for you to deal with the technical solutions. And that's why there's a lack of innovation. In the county government, there's lack of innovation, there's lack of seriousness. Because you are linked to, just example what you have said. Look at the people who are aspiring to be governor in Nairobi. Like maybe, I'm sorry to say that, like Bishop. Which management skill does she have to manage a county, a serious county like Nairobi? Nairobi should be like Washington. Serious minds with a serious technical team behind to advise. So these are the problems that you're having, my friend. And we need to be serious. That's what I'm saying. You can have the paper, but you have. And that's what is your value? The problem that we are lacking is the value of our capacity in terms of development of our greater nation called Kenya. That's why I'm wondering, some reckless statement like the Council of Governors Mr. Wycliffe Wambesa Oparanya,
Yes.
who is my governor,
Yes.
can say like that, and with experience is an accountable professional and expertise. But because he's standing on a political angle to defend his position, he can come up with such kind of a reckless statement, whereby it is absurd to the academia. It's absurd to the technician that we have in this country, and that should be changed for us to progress. We need to be genuine of ourselves, not blaming. Political solutions sometimes they don't make sense on serious issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me also get in, Wahomengari, on that. Is it time for us to introduce some sort of affirmative action, maybe even from the Treasury and the National House, on how some of these funds or some of these counties should behave when it comes to management of their funds now? Because when you have over this other side somebody crying that we don't have money in the counties, and then over this other side you have somebody saying, wow, there is money that you guys are not picking, probably because you have not qualified to pick it so far. Is it time for us to sort of charter an affirmative action for what should be done to these counties? Should not they be picking some of these monies?
I'm not sure what you offer as affirmative action,
yes.
But actually, yes, we need to have, I'm not sure what the solution is, but we can't keep this for long because we are going to ground services down.
Yes.
And like I said, and I think Dr. Yusuf has affirmed that there's no innovation, there's no creativity. Nairobi has a serious parking problem. We all have issues. Now, if you look at the Holy Family Basilica, they've put a state-of-the-art parking lot. Why would Jivaji Garden not look something like that? With a parking garden on top, with a garden on up and the parking lot below. And there are just that many examples. I feel maybe the professional bodies and civil society has to focus a bit more on this area so that we see where the push can be. Because the other problem we must appreciate is the voter. A gentleman called Waititu was governor in Kiambu. He was impeached. He wants to be governor in Nairobi. And he will have enough people who want to put him in the office. I think we need a lot of voter education. Now, the campaigns we are having about dynasties and hustlers, it is not informing decision making. It's actually just causing a frame and causing more confusion, because the voter is the weaker link in most of these cases. If you ever start to listen to the discussion of IMCAs, then you actually know there's not many professionals who want to work with them on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And we've seen this in many places. Not too long ago, I think 2 years back, the MCAs in Narok just walked to the hospital to try and force his clinical officers, doctors, and nurses to treat some people. How can somebody like that walk into a hospital to try and force the doctor who to treat and who not to treat? You know, that capacity is a serious issue. And if you're able to resolve, now we cannot leave it to the politician. It is us, the citizens, and more so the professionals. I think the professional bodies have a bit more work to do, and maybe loop in civil society so we see how we can be able to change this. Because the politicians at the top, they want votes, that's all. MCAs are asking for what? A free car, a free mortgage, and everything. And somebody is telling them you can actually get it. You can actually become ministers. And does that improve the capacity? Does that make it any better? And that is why Treasury will always have a problem, because people don't want to follow the procedures. There's a reason why those procedures are there. And like Dr. Isuka said, if you go to the advanced nations, mayors, not governors, mayors run cities very efficiently. Mayors can put up a bond and convince citizens to loan the city money so that they can actually be able to finance their projects. When are we going to see county bonds so that the counties are able to, like Kipia, because he was putting in place a bond to try and raise the money for that purpose. But when it is only when we get there, we do not have this dependency on the central government, that the county governments will be able to move and give the services that are required. I know that's a mouthful, but we have a problem that we have to look for a way of solving.
Yes. Dr. Mshelule, let me bring you in on that as well as we clear this conversation. Now, you do know what BBI is proposing. It's proposing more revenue allocation to the counties. Do you think that that will, in a nutshell, start to solve these problems? Because the only thing that we're talking about is that they're not collecting these monies from the CBK. So does giving them more money start to solve this issue?
You need just to be very serious. With the little money we have problem. What about if we have more money? You need to ask ourselves genuinely those questions. With the county for that more money, or just making noise, or just the money to be squandered? Do they have a proper plan? What is their policy towards the funds that they're having? What is towards that funds? What are some of the technological innovation integration they have, so that if they get that money, they can generate also more money? It's not a matter of just receiving. What are you also generating that can add value in terms of development? So these are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves. Then just making a lot of noise that you're going to have money, we're going to do what people who are also inciting of the more money, look at their counties. Look at their counties. It's a problem. It's a problem, general problem, serious problem that they're suffering. There's no development. There's a lot of confusion. If the county governments right now, even the IU capacity for the COVID, and yet they were given 5 billion. If they don't have enough bed for the COVID, they're given money for that. So which will give them now more money, and they don't have any plans. It's just like somebody winning a jackpot, and he doesn't have any plan. What will you expect? That's where we are going now. That's where we are going. Our leadership, maybe if you're giving money to somebody who has won a lottery without any plan, automatically there's going to be confusion. There will not be value for that money. So we need value for the money. And the value for the money, we need to have proper bias, proper plan, proper capacity, so that it can justify that money. And also we need to also tell the national government, this is what you can generate, this is what you can get, if this is what you can implement. That one makes more sense. And that's what I'm saying. Instead of talk about more money, we need to talk about the plans and actions and activity that we need to justify that even if this money that we're having right now is not enough, we need more money because you have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and have records. You can justify property reports, and somebody can see there's an impact on the ground. Those are some of my concerns.
Pretty much. All right, let's move on to the next part of our discussion this morning, where the new Tea Act 2020 has been challenged by a section of multinationals under the Kenya Tea Growers Association, who argued that Section 36, 48 and 53 of the law were enacted in a manner inconsistent with the Constitution. In a petition filed under a certificate of urgency, the multinationals argue that the act was enacted despite them filing a petition to the Senate and the National Assembly asking for key changes to the specific sections of the bill, claiming it is discriminatory and will lead to losses. Now, the multinationals under the Kenya Tea Growers Association argue that the Section 36, 48 and 53 were enacted in a manner inconsistent with the Constitution. Now, the tea estates, including James Finlay, Kapchorwa Tea PLC Limited, Kipkebe Limited, Nandi Tea Estates, Williamson Tea PLC and Sotik Highlands Tea Estates, said that the sections will have catastrophic impact on the tea producers and the industry as a whole if left in their current form. Section 36 of the Tea Act provides that all teas processed in Kenya for export, except orthodox and specialty, shall be offered at the tea auction floor, a factor they maintain will limit the Kenya Tea Development Agency's ability to impact direct tea sales. Now, I'll take you back to when the president actually did urge the ministry to get back on the Tea Act of 2020 and streamline things. Wahome, do they have a point, or it's a way to give KTDA just a way into the tea business in this country? We seem to see this push and pull between the ministry and KTDA.
We've obviously had a lot of tea politics, not a tea party. And yes, the multinationals are very entrenched in this space.
Yes.
They've been on for a long time. They have been in this business. And we must understand the registration we have is the registration that came through from pre-independence days. have obviously changed some of the things that they are traditionally used to. And
Yes.
this must be informing where the resistance is coming from. The small-scale tea farmer has had a lot of problems with KTDA, and part of what what is being done is to try and sort out most of those things. And they are very progressive propositions and laws, part of the law that has come in this tea act to try and resolve the position. But in the same breath, I think we cannot totally ignore the multinationals. They are big, they are established, they are big taxpayers, and obviously there's reason to listen to them. But I'm surprised that we gotten to this point without them having put their facts across. But there's a reality in this country that's coming through. Everybody wants it their own way. We lost the art of negotiation. So when the issue, everyone wants their own, and I it's like BBI. We come all this way, but there are people who try to look at it like it is something totally new and their input was not put in. So I'm not very sure where they are coming from, yet they were involved along the way. Maybe they want to have their own way, the way it goes, but that's not probable. On the balance, Kenya is a big tea growing country. And if you look at it for the national good, I think it is not a question of large scale or small scale. We should look at it. We have a competitive advantage. We are one of the big tea producers in the world. What is good for the nation without looking at the multinationals or the small holders? And I think that when we act that together and we put that in law, that will be beneficial to everybody without it being us versus them, because that's exactly what it is turning out at the moment.
Yes, Dr. Mushalule, talk to me. Do you feel like this is just a push and pull between KTDA and the Ministry of Agriculture on exactly their reduced chances in the tea sales in the country?
Okay, logically, maybe you can say that the tea farmers can look forward for better days ahead.
Yes.
After this big.
Yes.
That's what I can say, logically, but practically, we don't know now the logistics around within it, because it has been a political issue about this law, starting from the legislative by Isaac Cheriot. He's the one who came up with the bill. There's so many challenges that looking at Isaac Cheriot, looking at Mumanyi, looking at Patrick Mariru, all of them. If you look at how this act has been having a serious war in the parliament, in both houses, both the upper house and the lower houses, you also see that maybe I can say maybe, okay, there's something maybe inside that maybe people don't know. And that's what I'm saying. From the look of things, you can say there are better days, but we should not ignore the multinational, because they are the key people to us. Because they are the key people. Because now, where are you going to, if you ignore the multinational, where are you going to sell our tea? It becomes a challenge, because even internally here, you have seen the issue that happened with the sugar industry, whereby they're saying that you don't have enough sugar. And how many companies of sugar do we have in Kenya? To the extent that even we're importing sugar from Uganda. It's because of conflict of interest. That's the thing. So I think, like I said, the law, if it comes into force, it will require some payments of farmers, half of the amount within the month of sales, and the other half within the following few months. That's one of the key things that you also need to mind. And also it's going to address the long periods of time, whereby maybe there's a delay of payments. There's what was going to address all these issues, if it's going to be implemented well. Okay? That's some of the key things to put in mind. And also the law will also seek to improve management of the 69 tea factories owned by the smallholder farmers in 21 countries. Okay? Because it's one of the key things that's also putting in mind. Because Kenyans will have good laws, but who are managing the laws? Those are some of the key things. And who are the foot soldiers of the laws?
Yes.
They no kind of management understand these laws. They don't know their priority. They don't know what's supposed to be done. These are some of the key things to put in mind. So sometimes also these critical amendments also on one man, one vote also reduction on management fees from 2.5% of factory turnover to 1.5%, and allowing the direct sales. So these are some of the key things. These are some of the suggestions that also has been made, that has been also added on by Emeti MP Katuri Murugi, in terms of one man, one vote key thing. To look at the management also on these things, in terms of the management, because you see some of these boards of the tea factories that are politically appointees, whereby some people, they're just there, they don't know what is the mandate of the organization, what is the position of the organization. They're just there because they want to get allowances. And the problem with the tea is the Tea Board of Kenya. The board has a problem. Very well, because there's a political appointee. And that's what I'm saying, even if you have good laws, even if you have good acts that have been passed, and you don't implement them very well, you don't understand them very well, it's just useless.
Yes.
That's my take.
Yes. Wahome Ngari, can you clear for us this conversation, therefore? What position does KTDA now find themselves in, therefore, in this new Tea Act of 2020?
Very strange new position.
Yes.
They were all powerful. They
Yes.
had very many subsidiaries, one for importing fertilizer, one for machinery, one for all those things. And they were living well at the expense of the farmer.
Yes.
Now they have actually got to do the work they were supposed to do initially. Ensure that we're marketing our tea and we're making enough money so that they can get their cut. If that doesn't change, they are going to be the obvious, and that's why they were fighting all this, because it has taken away a lot of what they had. They were living well at the expense of the farmer. And we're hoping that, yes, there will be implementation. But I know there are governance issues at the factory level. And I think Dr. Isuba has talked about this. A lot of people who come in as directors at the factories obviously cannot match the competency of the factory manager from KTDA. And they get a lot of times to be compromised. They get a lot of times to approve things that they can't understand because of the capacity issue again. And we're hoping that somehow, because of the new arrangement, the enforcement of this law, then the farmer is going to benefit, and KTDA now will actually have to look at what is their space so that they don't load it over the farmer, and they actually do the work of making sure that this industry is growing, we're selling tea, and we're making, and they earn their living.
Pretty much, Dr. Mshelule and Wahome Ngari, thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to speak to Metropole TV this morning. We entirely appreciate. And on that note, we come to the end.
Thank you for having me here in the morning. Thank you.
Pretty much, on that note, we come to the end of Business AM.